Hey everybody, I'm Professor Lilly and welcome to CM316, Popular Culture in America. And I'm excited. I just got done with a sabbatical. So I haven't taught this course in a year, and this will be, though, only the third time for me teaching it. And you might notice the W here. So this is an online only class. I'm not sure why they choose W. There must be some reason. But anyway, when you see W next to the course number, it means it's online only. And we actually got approval for this course to be online only, uh, ironically, right before COVID hit. I worked with a semester with a instructional designer to take this course for being a course where the previous instructors actually hardly used Moodle at all, and ramped it up and did all sorts of stuff. Spent a long time on this Moodle course page so that we could deliver it online only. And right before, or right at that time, the university had decided that students could take, I do believe, one course a semester online only, and a certain number of credits in total when you graduate can be those online only courses, which was a kind of a big deal for the university because a long time uh, the previous presidents had resisted the whole idea of any kind of online only, and this is before we started using online only for almost all summer courses. So anyway, ironically, right before COVID, this course got developed. And at this point, though, it still is, now that we're back in class, it's still one of the only courses in the communication department and the university in general that's still, during the regular semester, online only. So what that means is perhaps also, maybe ironically, where I'm not even allowed to have regular sessions because at a specific time for this course is not worked into your schedule. So what that means is there's not going to be any live Zoom meetings unless one of you individually email me and say, hey, I want to talk about an assignment or something like that, and we could arrange a Zoom time. That's fine. And but there's no set time every week that we're all getting together, as a lot of courses did during COVID. So the fancy word for that is asynchronous, which basically means that you are working on your own time. Like whenever you have time during the week, you're coming to the Moodle site, you're looking at the assignments, kind of similar to other classes. You're doing the readings on your own time as well, and but there will be weekly deadlines that you do have to adhere to. So you could submit the assignment anytime before that deadline. So just keep that in mind. And I have a little cheat sheet here that I am just going to refer to every once in a while. And so, one of the tips for success in this course is just make sure you come to the site often. Somewhere here I say read the assignment guidelines carefully and be sure to answer all the prompts. And a lot of the assignments have many prompts, and one of the ways I grade them is there will be in the rubric, it'll say, how did the student answer all of the prompts, which basically means like multiple part questions. So that's what I'll be kind of looking for to make sure you kind of gave a full answer, as I'll be kind of checking along and make sure that you hit all those different answers. So this course site is rather detailed, in particular because, like I said, it's an online only course, and all the stuff that's in here is supplanting all the stuff that you would get during a real on-campus, twice a week meeting, or three times short classes 3 times a week. And all the stuff that the professor says and stuff. So there's one reason why there's so many words in here in the guidelines and everything, and there's several videos of me doing lectures, is because you're not coming to class, so I have to tell you in Moodle all the stuff that you're expected to do. So with that in mind, I'm going to let me start off though in saying, so what's this course all about? So most of you are communication majors. You don't have to be a communication major to take this course. But the way I think about the course, and it's a general communication course, so it's not necessarily tied to one of the specialties, but the way I teach is that I want it to be useful for all the different possible careers that a person could go into in communication. And so, even though we're doing lots of text analysis, I want you to really be thinking about the industries. So, I just looked this up real quick. And so the arts and cultural, we used to call this the cultural industries in the United States. 876, almost $877 billion. And that's, I think, a lower U, because this is like 2020 was the beginning or was the middle of COVID, right? But the cultural industries are a huge section of our economy. And so when you're going to be analyzing all sorts of popular work. So we're talking about popular culture, which is basically television, popular music, popular books. We could talk about theater, but any kind of cultural text that is popular at the time, and trying to understand, so why is this so popular? And in all these different fields, they want to kind of figure that out as well. One thing that I'm watching right now, I'm big into fantasy book series, and now a lot of fantasy book series that are more popular are becoming, just like Harry Potter, but Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones with the House of Dragons is on right now. And honestly, I wasn't really paying much attention to the whole production of the new Lord of the Rings series, Rings of Power. And but then when I started realizing, watching it, that the first couple episodes are out, and then I was like, well, these are the same settings. So I kind of quickly realized, well, they're doing this in New Zealand like they did the original series that came out when let's see, I guess those movies actually started coming out before most of you were born. But maybe your parents were in it, and it wasn't so far gone that when you were older, I assume that most of you watched the original 3 movies, and then the 3 Hobbit movies did come out after you were born. But anyway, Rings of Power, and so I recognized, okay, this is again being set in New Zealand. It's like, how much money that they're spending on this series is insane. And so I just looked it up, and yeah, true to form. I mean, they're giving all sorts of tax breaks, but it's going to be a huge boon. And granted, we're talking about some areas that aren't necessarily areas that from communication degree you might go into, like acting, makeup, set design. I mean, maybe if you have into theater as well. But in terms of animation, effects, video, audio design, all sorts of areas. And then, of course, we have the advertising, the marketing. We have whole websites devoted to this, both in terms of like the fan side of it, but also the commercial side of it and the marketing. You have social media, like, is all over this, and there's all sorts of people being paid, and also, again, fans who are doing social media associated with this. So lots of different areas in our communication degrees where you would be using them to market this or talk about this. And so the ability to analyze what's going on in these shows, how do you market it, is all what an analysis of popular culture is about. Sorry, let me get a little Coke action there. Okay, so let's talk then about where we're going, starting at the beginning. In terms of your grades, I know everyone is always grade focused. So the beginning, I'm going to show you what the first few weeks look like, are intentionally designed to not be, in terms of the assignments, so there's going to be several reading quizzes, and like most every week you'll have a really short reading quiz. There's going to be some weekly discussions. kind of smaller activities. And so I have those in the grade book, not worth a whole lot in terms of your final grade. And because at the beginning, you're just kind of figuring out what is the definition of popular culture, how can we analyze it, what are some of the major terms that we're going to be using, so that in the second half of the semester, you're actually going to be doing a lot of cultural or a pop culture analysis. You're going to choose a TV show or musical genre. And so those at the end, so we see music as pop culture is a small group assignment worth 20%, television as popular culture worth 20%, and then your final project worth 25. So in the second half of the semester, at that point you should kind of understand what you're doing and be able to do it. And so that's why the bigger percentage of the grade is then. But regardless, like I said, I'm going to keep on reiterating this. Make sure you come to Moodle several times a week and you keep up with those assignments, because after I have down here, don't tune out on the class for longer periods of time. Okay, so now will I notice if you're not? Yeah, but in a different way than if I notice, oh, so-and-so didn't come to class and we had 2 class periods last week and they didn't come at all. Granted, hopefully you would tell me if that was the case, if you're sick or something's going on. But sometimes I think students, since it's a little bit more on your responsibility to make sure you're coming to class, it's not like the alarm's going off and you're like, oh, I got to run to class. So this is online only, so just make sure you don't tune out and keep on keeping on with the work and the assignments, because if you do take a big break, it might be kind of hard to get back into it. I think sometimes students think that with online classes you could just tune out for a couple weeks and get back into it, but this class has a lot of reading and a lot of kind of little things to do along the way. So let me show you, I'm just going to talk in a little bit about the first few assignments. But before I do that, where are we going? So in the first couple weeks, it's going to be all about defining what is popular culture. And again, I'll click on those weeks and talk about them. Next, we're going to do, like, how do you do a basic textual analysis, and what are the different kind of tools. I use the term tools because there's kind of like different things of looking about the psychology of characters, looking at symbolism, looking at the industry and how much money was spent on this particular part of the television show or the book series or whatever it is, and learning through that, like how much it cost and what are the industry analysis of it. And then once we learn all that, then the second half, like I said, we're going to be actually doing popular culture analysis. And we have basically 2 major modules and then your final project. So we have the music as popular culture module, which will last 3 weeks, and that'll be 1 big grade that you get at the end. At the end, you're going to create a group presentation. You will be asked to choose let me see if I can find the sign-up sheet. Self-select a genre to analyze. So we have 90s hip-hop and rap, Riot Grrrl. It's like a subgenre of indie rock or grunge rock. House music, like I guess they would call that now. It's kind of like a precursor to electronic dance music now. Metal, which is a heavy metal, and then North American jazz. So you're going to self-select into one of those groups. There'll be probably about 3 or 4 people in that group, and you'll be working with them in that 3-week module. And then I'll show you what the final project will end up looking like. And then we'll do the same thing again for television and film. So you'll choose a particular television and film genre, you'll analyze it, and then you'll choose some specific examples from that genre, and you will you analyze it again. I'll show you example, and you'll turn in a presentation. And then at the end, you will either by yourself or in a group of 2 or 3, you'll do a final project, which is kind of like where the music or film, but you choose your own cultural text. So you could choose a different television series, you could choose a film, you could choose a book series. So you could say, I'm going to look at the Harry Potter book series or one particular book. And by that point, you should have a pretty good sense of what a good size or a good cultural text is to analyze it, so that there's enough there for you to do. Let me show you some examples of what those might look like. So this is Hunger Games, and this was an actual final project. But the final project could end up looking similar to, like, let's say one of the for the television and film. Now, the television and film, that module, they have to look more at first at the genre, and then they choose some examples to analyze. In the final project, you just choose a text, and then you do all the different levels of the analysis, which would include a genre analysis. So there's 2 options for the final project, and also for the group projects, and it's to do it as a presentation or it's to do it as a traditional paper. So in this one, the student, I think it was 2 students for the final project, chose to do it in a presentation type style, and I just exported it as a PDF, as you see here. And there's a whole bunch of prompts. So there's no kind of, I've never had a student say, well, I don't really know what to write about, because there's a whole bunch of prompts. If you click ahead and go to either the project guidelines for the music module or the TV module, or for the final project, there's a whole bunch of different prompts. So it makes it hopefully easier for you to figure out how to focus on how to proceed. So for example, here we have an analysis of where the Hunger Games fit within the genre. We have a genre analysis, and there's specific details of what a genre analysis entails, which you will learn. There's a particular question about asking about the impact of youth culture on the rise of this particular cultural text, and so on and so forth. At the end, of course, we have an analysis of the role of social media in promoting either fans looking at this particular cultural text or for promotional purposes. And at the end, there should be a list of a work cited. A example of pretty much it's all the same prompts, but if you feel more comfortable in doing a paper type answering those prompts rather than the presentation, then this is one for Gossip Girl. And again, it's answering the same prompts, but it's just in paper form. Here's a student who did, this last time I taught the course, did a really good job of looking at the Scooby-Doo, and she chose to, she both looked at it from a wide view, so you can see here looking at the whole history of Scooby-Doo in television and film, which, even though I enjoyed, and Scooby-Doo was fun for me, because when I was a kid, there was Scooby-Doo on television, and then as a parent, I enjoyed watching Scooby-Doo, newer versions of Scooby-Doo television series and movies with my children. But you can see here, I mean, it's been a vast franchise. And then these students then start looking at the genre in general and how it's changed, because the delivery of Scooby-Doo has changed since the 1960s through to today. Here we have the genre evolving. And at the end, they chose several particular shows to analyze in more detailed view per the instructions. So again, so hopefully, granted that was quick, and as we get into each module, I'll give you a lot more examples of what students have done before. But hopefully you'll see that ideally you should be having fun in this course, because for the most part you get to choose what you're analyzing, and sometimes you're analyzing genres that you've never considered before, but you have a chance to kind of actually watch movies, watch television, listen to music, and think other than, oh, I like it or I don't really like it. Think about it in a deeper, more kind of industry focused way. Because when you're working in the industry, you might be assigned to work with a client, and the type of work they're doing, you personally are not, it's not the kind of thing that you are interested in, right? I mean, maybe you love Taylor Swift and you get assigned to work with a heavy metal band or something like that. But the idea is for you to be able to think deeply and critically about what they are doing and what makes them interesting, and who are their fans and how are they making money. So it's a multi step process. So with all that in mind, let me talk specifically about the first couple weeks. Okay, so like I said in the email I sent out earlier this week, uh, ideally the way I see the week is usually ending on a Sunday and then the next week starting on a Monday. These, or rather the Moodle page, since the course starts, the whole semester starts on Tuesday, which is the 6th, Moodle kind of says the weeks are from starting on Tuesdays. So I apologize if a lot of these assignments I'm like finish up, and I might even come through and change everything to Wednesday. To Monday due dates, but a lot of my due dates right now are set for Sunday. And again, since this is it's all online, we don't have to worry about like a weekly schedule in terms of class meetings. So even though the weeks for Moodle says it starts on Tuesdays, in general for me, I think of them as starting, or also in the course, on a Monday, meaning that a lot of the weekly assignments, when they end, it'll be on a Sunday. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, then email me and we can converse that way. Okay, so week 1. Okay, so those are the week we're coming into. Since it's important for you to get oriented to the whole course, it's a very light week. So make sure you check out the course syllabus up here, download it, check it out. And I do have 2 readings that I want to call pre-readings. Granted, you could read them at the beginning of next week, and that would be fine. You wouldn't be considered behind. But since this is a light week, I went ahead and put the readings here for you to start reading this week to get ready for next week. And a lot of the early assignments involve discussion forums. And for that, basically, I'm looking for you to answer the prompts. We have a couple of really easy ones. So you would just come in here to the discussion forum. I think a couple students already have. And introduce yourself and then answer these prompts about what's your favorite TV movie and why it is your favorite. Same thing with TV series, song, and book. And it's just starting to get you think about popular culture and the way that you consume popular culture, on what you're the most interested in. So pretty light prompts for this week, and then doing the reading. And then the following week, we kind of get more into traditional academic work, and we have another discussion forum, and it will be asking more of a series of prompts. So again, this is where I'm talking about where a lot of these prompts were discussion forums for asking for responses for posts, and then also for later on essays, group projects. The final project will have a lot of prompts, just like this one does. And generally also just kind of a simple guidelines in terms of what I'm asking you to do. And then usually I also will give you a sense of like how long. Am I asking you to type for 10 pages on this, or just a couple of pages? So that's why I'm giving you usually the number of paragraphs. So for these discussion forum prompts, some of them require to go online and do some research, or take some notes when you're doing reading and put it in there. But it's not the same type of formal writing that I would expect for the essays and for the group projects. For the group projects, I'm going to look for like really well-considered sentence structure and grammar and things like that. For these discussion forums, it's kind of more off the top of your head, or what you're thinking about at the time, looking at the prompts, along with a little preparation. So if you had taken notes in the reading, then you can read a quote or whatever. But this is a little bit more informal writing in the discussion forums compared to the projects and the papers later on, which I expect that to be a little bit more formal writing, academic writing. So, and then usually for any assignment associated with a discussion forum, I will ask you to respond to the other people writing. So, and usually I'll tell you respond to 2 people or respond to 3 people, and usually those prompts are a little bit easier, but it's just kind of like guiding you into an actual discussion as opposed to everybody just throwing out their remark and then forgetting about it. And certainly you're also encouraged to respond to the response if someone says something that really piques an interest and you want to say something back to them. Please do. And then starting that second week, I have a really short quiz. And the quiz, the quizzes are more just to make sure you do the reading. I mean, and the discussion forums also, you know, you kind of need to do the reading, but just trying to keep you going and thinking about things. You can kind of use notes when you're doing the quizzes. The quizzes are designed to kind of go through pretty fast, and they're not worth a huge chunk of your grades, but it's just trying to get you to make sure you're thinking about it, you're actually engaging the reading, and the questions are usually pretty easy if you actually did the reading. And then after that, we're into defining popular culture, part 2. And for both part 1 and part 2, I have a video. And the cheat sheet here, do I have it? Yeah. So make sure you read my weekly emails where I'll kind of remind you, this is what we're doing this week, and you have to watch the video lecture. So all the videos are on YouTube, and so I can kind of go through and see, okay, how many students have seemingly watched the video this week. And I can tell, like, if people aren't watching the video. I don't know why you wouldn't watch the video, because it's basically me talking about the reading, talking about the assignments, helping you to understand what's going on. Because just the whole concept of popular culture, what it is, how do we do textual analysis, it'll take you kind of a while to understand what's going on, what are we doing, what is this thing called textual analysis, what is this thing called popular cultural analysis. And that's why the first few weeks there's not as many graded assignments or major assignments, so that in the second half of the semester you kind of understand what you're doing. So if you skip watching those lecture videos, and I try to make them entertaining and not too long, and that's for that reason I'm going to cut this video right now short in just a minute. But watch those, because that's where the professor is telling you what you need to remember from the readings and reiterating what you need to be doing in the assignment. So I'm going to cut this introduction video off right there. Again, after week 1, pretty much every one of these weeks at the beginning is going to have a lecture of me telling you what to do and talking about the readings. The best way to contact me is through email. I check my email all the time. I have 2 teenage children, and I do a lot of carpools on most days. So sometimes in the afternoon, you might take me an hour or so to respond to you. But rest assured, eventually I'll get to your question. If for some reason I don't get back to you within a day, send the email again, because sometimes I get so much email that if I don't respond within an hour or two, and a whole bunch of other emails come through, then I might not see yours. So it's totally okay with me if you kind of resend it or say, hey, maybe you didn't get the email, and ask me again. This is my mobile number here. If you want to talk to me, I would text me first and say, hey, I'm so-and-so from Popular Culture, and can we talk? Just because, like, I assume most of you, I get tons of spam phone numbers or phone calls, and if it doesn't tell me who the person is, I don't know who it is, then I don't answer that. And we can do if you, and then you can also email me or text me and say, hey, can we do a Zoom if you have something you want to talk about that's going to take a little bit longer, and we can I'll set up a Zoom meeting at a time that we can both do it, and we can talk that way. Since this, and I will talk a little bit more about grading as we go through, since this is a Moodle course, for the major assignments, there will be a grade that will come through in your grade book, and once that comes through, you'll be able to see, for example, instantly the quiz scores. A couple of the early assignments, like the early discussion forums, I've grouped several of those together into one grading rubric. And again, that week, I'll usually send at least one, if not two, emails a week. And in those emails, I'll say, hey, I just got finished grading the first essay, and that also groups in this discussion forum, and you can see that grade. And in those grades, you can see exactly what the feedback was and what you scored in the different areas for that particular rubric. But again, remember that the major grades are coming more towards the end of this course, because that's when you're should really be able to understand what's going on. And again, hopefully you'll have a great time in this course. I've been really impressed with the work the students have been churning out in the first few times that I've taught the course, and a lot of students have got a lot out of it. So I hope you enjoy it, and please just make sure you check on the Moodle course page very frequently, and in those individual assignments, just make sure you follow the guidelines. And again, have a good time with this course. You are basically, it's a different kind of experience. I'm sure some of you remember back to COVID. So you're really going to have to work on your weekly schedule and make sure you have enough time to work on this course. So I'll see you all in class, and get into it in this first week. And if you have any questions, just send me an email, okay?